Hello, everyone. My name is Will Fellows. I will be the presenter this evening. My wife, Wendy Barda, and I are the astrologers of the villages, or the village astrologers. So we will be looking at the new year ahead, and there's going to be two parts to this and two separate videos. The first one is the personal year ahead for 2021. So we will be going through each of the signs and we will be giving a forecast using the outer planet energies using a solar chart. So we'll step through that. Let me see if I get it. Now the key things I'm going to just go through as a summary: the astrological signs, the meaning of the planets, and the houses involved, because those are the three key ingredients to mapping out or developing, we'll say, a forecast for each sign. So the 12 astrological signs, as if you're an astrologer, this is very familiar with, are the Aries through Pisces. And just as a general assessment, I will use the key words for each of the signs. But one of the best ways I use for remembering the nature and characteristics of a sign is that I do the elements and the qualities. So Aries is a cardinal fire sign. So cardinals are active and fire is very spiritual and outgoing. So Aries is a positive, energetic, creative sign. Taurus is fixed earth. So they're very focused and practical, and the earth is bringing things into manifestation. So Taurus is the fixed earth, practical, determined, stubborn, calm, and materialistic. Gemini is mutable air. So air are the intellectual signs, and there was three air signs, and it's and four mutable signs. So the mutable gives it adaptability. So Gemini, being very intellectual, but is flexible. They're very cunning. They are very good communicators, very intellectual, and many writers are also Gemini. The next sign is Cancer. It's cardinal water, so it's very active emotions. It's a very they call it the mother sign. It's very active in protecting and being loyal and home loving, and they're very sensitive. They are also blessed with, usually, especially if their Mercury is in Cancer, a very retentive mind. And the water signs are also the artistic signs, artistic and psychic signs. If you have several planets in Cancer, you may be intuitive or psychic. Leo is the fixed fire sign. It's strong and again organized as the fixed nature, and it's fire. It's inspirational. So Leo is usually a leader of an organization. Many of the organizations, especially mystical organizations like the Theosophical Society, were organized and initiated by Leos. Madame Blavatsky was a Leo, so and so was Colonel Alcott, who was the co-founder of the Theosophical. They can go through others too, but that's leader, organizing, warm, and egotistical. They like to be in charge, but they throw the best parties, Leos, too. Virgo is the mutable earth sign. So again, it's analytical, it's changeable. So Earth makes it organized. So if you have an assessment, and Virgo's very good at putting it into a spreadsheet and giving you a very precise and organized manner of structuring data or information. Virgos are very astute to what's going on, and their house's environment, especially if there's very strong Virgo, it will be very pristine and organized. And also the sixth house is hygiene. They're usually very interested. That's why they're very pristine. Now, Libra is the cardinal air sign. Cardinal is active. The air is intellect. So they like being out there. They like conversing and interacting. They seek balance. They're diplomatic. They try to mediate and balance things. They're considerate, but they can be indecisive, especially if they have aspects or planetary energies. The scales can start bouncing from one position to the other. Scorpio is the fixed water sign. It's a very strong sign, the strongest sign in the zodiac for many aspects of it. My mother, who was an astrologer, I'm a second generation astrologer. She would always say anything that a Scorpio puts their mind to, they can achieve. They're probing. They can be extreme. They're secretive, sexual. They're investigators, determined. Their key thing is who is behind the curtain? Who is the Wizard of Oz? It may be them. Sagittarius is mutable fire. These are the seekers of the zodiac. They're outdoors people. They love hiking. They're optimistic, fun loving, restless, extreme, but also they can pull the arrows out of the quivers, the arrows of truth, and they can speak very to a point directly and straightforwardly to where the truth does hurt. Capricorn is the cardinal earth sign. So Capricorn is the most ambitious sign in the zodiac. They're driven, they're critical, they're economical. They can be arrogant at times because they're so driven. They become very astute at things. They also, we have many wealthy people have Capricorn. Um, Aquarius is the fixed air sign, so it's fixed, it's very focused, it's air intellectual, so they're very systematic, they're observant. They can be eclectic because the air, they look beyond things, but in a very organized, focused manner. They can be aloof at times. Pisces is the mutable water sign. It's imaginative, it's spiritual, it's the dreamer, it's dedicated, it can be unfocused and conflicted, but also can be a tsunami. Pisces can be very powerful if its waters are stirred, they can rise up. The ancients would call the two general signs Scorpio and Pisces. So there's that dual aspect of Pisces. It's the two fishes, and sometimes they can become a shark. So, okay, let's go to the next sign. Next slide. Okay, the key astrological planets are the sun. There's actually 8 planets. I conclude Pluto, and there's reasons I think Pluto is much stronger than people think. Even though they have it now as a dwarf planet, I still think there's reasons why it's still very, very significant and strong. And then there's the 2 luminaries, but I also look at Chiron and the ascendant, the nodes in the midheaven. So the sun is your life energy, it's your vitality, your character. It can have a lot to deal with your personality. The moon is your inner self, your subconscious. When you meditate, you get into your moon. It's your emotions and feelings. It's when you get into that, I'll say, altered state, you're really tapping a lot into your moon. Mercury is your mind, your intellect, communications, and memory. It's the logical processes for learning that kick in, the type of mind. It's how you learn and how you express and communicate yourself. Venus is the planet of relationships, what we value, creative and business aspects. And the ancients considered Venus before the Romans was a hermaphrodite, both male and female. And so Venus is what we value. And then the creative and business areas, there's the quality of the sexes. So it was always recognized. And I look at Venus showing very much not only what we value, but also what we do in life. And why it's so important in relationships. If you have 2 people that value the same thing in their relationship, then it's a very strong and lasting relationship. Mars is the planet of energy and ambition, emotions and sexual drive. It's how we apply ourselves and charge forward with our, we'll say, with our visions to bring them into reality. Jupiter is good luck and good fortune and expansion. It's our antenna to the world. Grant Louis, who I read a lot. My mother had his books out. He called it the antenna to the world. The reason why luck occurs when you're very aware of your surroundings, and when you're aware, it gives you the ability to expand your world and act on it. That Jupiter is very strong in doing that. Saturn is the great teacher of the zodiac. It's organization, discipline, lessons we learn. Saturn can be your best friend or harshest taskmaster. So it's when you make friends with Saturn, it becomes your best friend. Uranus is innovation, change, the higher mind. Uranus is like a lightning bolt, things that change and happen into your life unexpectedly. They can bring, we'll say they remove things or bring things into your life in a New York minute. Neptune is your planet of vision, dreams, plans, and illusions. And it's the planet that you have to be sure that your visions are real. Pluto is the planet of transformations, large groups, and awareness. When you have high awareness in a large scale, it brings along transformations to yourself individually. Chiron, they called it the wounded warrior. It's also what we need to address in life. It's like if we address the Chiron issues and heal them, then we can bring fulfillment into our lives. It's also our passions, because these are areas that we need to address in our lives. Ascendant is how the world sees it. It's the lens through which the rays of the sun come through and shine out to the world. So the ascendant is very important. That's how sometimes people mistakenly, if you had play that, that question game is like, what sign do you think I am? Many times they will guess your ascendant sign and rather than your actual sun sign. The nodes, I always look at the nodes because it shows if you believe in reincarnation and the many souls, many lives, many masters, many existences, then the nodes give you a lot of idea of what you're bringing into this life from your past life and what karma we need to work on. So the north is the present incarnation of the soul. It's our soul. It ties into our soul mission. And the south is the karma we brought in from the past. You can actually see a lot in the chart of what our past lives, that we'll say some key attributes that we brought in that are going to work with our realizing our north node. Now the 10th house is there are 12 houses, and in each zodiac I'll show there's a circle with 12 houses. There's the first house, personality, appearance, temperament. Second house is money, personal possession, finances. It's your money, your possessions, what you value in the life. It's ruled by also Venus. Third house is communication, siblings, writings, general studies, and learning. It's the Gemini house. Fourth house is home, parents, inner circle. Inner self, rituals and reflections. And we have rituals and things that we go through. It's sort of like our inner altar. The fifth house is enterprises, speculations, children, creativity, romantic and liaisons. So this house we look to find out about these particular areas. Sixth house is service, work environment, spirituality, and health. It's the Virgo house. Seventh house deals with relationships, how we relate to others, how we relate to our business partners. Are we more into marriage or just liaisons? And it tells you a lot if you're going to have more than one marriage. It gives an indication, especially if there are mutable signs or other indicators in the chart or hard aspects to the seventh house. The eighth house is transformations. It's the Scorpio house. Others people's money. Second house is my money and possessions. The eighth house is years with others. And it also deals with transitions like changes and wills and we'll say I don't use the word death, that's what the ancients said, but transformations in life, inheritances, occult abilities, and magic. The three houses that show if you have psychic or metaphysical abilities or interests are basically the sixth, eighth, and 12th house. Sixth house is more the house of spirituality. Also the fourth house. That's the house that shows the interest in the inner side. It's almost like I said, the altar within your soul. The eighth house shows also learning practices and rituals, be it yoga, be it Reiki, and other types of activities like that, which transforms your higher self. And the 12th house is the house of psychic abilities, intuitions. Now, the ninth house is the educated mind and studies, long distance travel, and college. It can be, you can have you may not go to college with a very well aspected ninth house, but you're very learned from reading and other activities, or maybe past lives too. The third house is the house of short travels. The ninth house is long distance travel. It shows if you're interested in traveling overseas or will travel overseas. 10th house is honors, recognition, occupations, vocations, and recognitions. 11th house, this is the house where it shows your vocations. How much are you seeking to be the boss or gain all this recognition? Or you rather be researching by yourself? You can see a lot of that between this and the 6th house. The 11th house is organizations, friends and associates and interests. The 12th house this is the house of your friends, groups, organizations, could be astrology groups and things like that. Of course, transits can activate all these houses too, as well as the natal chart. Using a bi-will with the transits to the natal chart. 12th house is secrets, dreams, institutions, opponents. These are the secret people. You can see that sometimes. A lot of times you have opponents you don't always realize. And also psychic abilities and dreams and visions. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these three factors and I'm going to be using the outer planetary energies because the planets, the inner planets from Mercury, Mars, Venus are very, and Moon and Sun are very quick in their they go through the signs sometimes less than a month and in a couple months. So they vary very much throughout the year. The moon every 28 days goes through all 12 signs. So it's every 2.5 days it changes a sign. So what's stable that you can focus on in a chart is the outer planetary energies, because Jupiter is at least a year in a sign, and Saturn is almost 2 years in a sign, and then it increases. Uranus is a 7 year. So I use that, and what I'm going to, and I'll explain a little bit more. I'm going to be using the solar sign method and place that on the ascendant, the first house, and for each sign. And then the energies of the outer planets will activate each one of the houses. That's why I took time to go through the houses and in just general, for those that may be looking at this that do not have a more advanced background in astrology, at least they'll understand where I'm coming from. So as I mentioned, the outer planets move slowly and are in a sign usually for more than a year. And this affects all individual signs for that predictive year. So they're going to be in certain houses. Now, if you know your natal chart, you can actually transcribe this into your actual house in your natal chart, your actual birth chart. And then you can use what I'm saying here for the houses for each one of the planets. So there'll be a dual meaning, but I'm going to do it generally for all the signs using the solar chart. And that's basically putting each sign on the first house and then shifting the planets through the house. But Jupiter, I said, is 1 year at expansion and luck. It's going to stay in Aquarius until December 21st. And it remains in Aquarius until May. This is the great conjunction. I'm going to talk about that a little bit, but it stays until the 13th, when it moves briefly back into Pisces until the 28th. So it's going to go into retrograde motion and then it's going to go into Pisces for about a 3-month period. And then it's going to retrograde. That means move back into Aquarius until December 30th. And then it's going to move forward back into Pisces. So it's going to be a short, there's two, and I'll go through this. There's two energies that we're going to experience for Jupiter through the year. Saturn, approximately 2 years in a sign, its organization, lessons, and disciplines. It went into Aquarius on December 21st, and it remains in Aquarius throughout the year. So that energy is constant, this Aquarian, we'll say the discipline of the mind energy, bringing structure to thought and advance ideas. Uranus is approximately 7 years in a sign. This is a 7-year cycle, divine will, innovation, and hold on. It's flashing me, my cell phone. I just turned it off. My cell phone keeps flashing on, so I just it's catching my attention. Okay, Uranus is approximately 7 years in a sign, divine will, innovation, new thoughts, and changes. It is in Taurus. Neptune is approximately 9 years in a sign, the divine plan, spirituality, illusions, and soul mission. It'll be in Pisces. But and Pluto is approximately 10 years in a sign or more, mass consciousness, transformations, and large groups. It is in Capricorn. Okay, so this is just taking the natural chart, which is Aries through Pisces, and its natural house positions, Aries in the first house and Taurus the second. And I just laid in where the planets are going to be for the year. So Jupiter is going to be in Aquarius. It has a short sojourn into Pisces, and then retrograde for 3 months, and then it goes back into Aquarius. But it's going to be mostly in Aquarius almost the year. Saturn's going to be in Aquarius all year. So this is its period. It's about a 15-degree movement back and forth in here. Uranus is a very slow planet, as I said, average 11, 12 years in a sign. I think it'll be almost 12 years in Capricorn. It's at the end degrees of Capricorn, between 23 and 26 or 28. So it stays in Capricorn. Uranus is going to be in Taurus all year. So it's in the natural second house of Taurus. And Neptune will be in Pisces all this year. I think that's also at about 23 degrees Pisces. So I will be taking this layout. Now for Aries, if I'm doing a forecast for Aries, it's going to have Uranus in the second house. This is using the solar chart. And then it's going to have Jupiter in its 11th house with Saturn in the 11th house, because they went through a great conjunction here. And then it's going to be, like I say, then Pluto's going to be in the 10th house for Aries, if, especially if your sun's in Aries or Aries is rising. Then when I shift to Taurus, I'm going to shift this sign up to the ascendant, and it's going to clockwise. I'm going to be rotating counterclockwise the signs back up here, and then that's going to move the planets. And when Taurus moves up here, it's going to move them into clockwise. So Uranus will be in the first house. And then the Aquarius will be actually in the, will shift also houses into the 10th house. So you'll see how that goes. I just want to explain that. Now, the outer planet general energies are Jupiter, Aquarius, expansion, innovation. Again, Aquarius being the fixed air sign, a focused mind, organizational mind. Jupiter's expansion and growth. So we're going to have innovation and organized thoughts along with greater planning, interest in new organizations, a greater drive for structuring what exists and expanding the realms of thought and innovation. Jupiter will go into Pisces between May and July. It'll be a time for expanding the sympathies and emotions. So Pisces being the mutable water sign, it's going to be a time for more emotional expansion. Or on the individual level, also on we'll talk in the second half of this. Second talk will be on the mundane. But for those tuned in or seeking, this position will brings out the development of this water sign psychic faculty. Personal pride and emotions need to be kept in check because it'll be expanding your emotional aspects of your inner self and being. So you want to avoid hypocrisy and overindulgence because emotionally, if you're upset or it expands it one way, you may overindulge in many things, if not eating or maybe gambling or other things. But healing abilities can be developed. You need to set goals or objectives, or the waves of Pisces will sweep you away. When that tsunami arises, it can be, especially with Jupiter, it can be quite powerful. Saturn in Aquarius. Aquarius, again, the future thinking, but it's a focused, organized application. It's new thinking in the structure of organizations are implemented. Serious approach to individuals. Saturn's a very serious, very disciplined approach to Aquarius be dealing with the individuals in the group. So it's promoting deeper thinking and reasoning. Group activities and applications of unstructured thoughts may be impeded. So if you're kind of scattered or Saturn and Aquarius will make it more focused and less scattered. Now Uranus is in Taurus now, and Taurus rules naturally the second house, but in Taurus is a fixed earth sign. So finances are going to be the key for Uranus and Taurus. Also, the earth manifestation of ideas. Uranus and Aries brought about a wealth of new ideas, new actions, individual freedom, the exertion of the will. Now that things are slowing down with Uranus and Taurus, so it's going to be very focused. Finances can take sudden gains and losses. It slows down abrupt actions because the fixed earth is going to hold it back. In Aries, it was this off the chart. Like I say, last time Uranus was in Aries, we had all kinds back in the 20s and early, I think 20s and changed in 1930. We had all kinds of new inventions, quantum mechanics and quantum physics and all kinds of new scientific thoughts and inventions. And then with Taurus, they started to come into manifestation. Interest in new business ventures or crafts. This is a good time for business. Once we get through some of the hard aspects, I think Uranus and Taurus will bring back small businesses and innovate an application of innovation. Thoughts and actions are more grounded. Neptune in Pisces leads to a more mystical and spiritual experience. Neptune is the modern ruler of Pisces. So in Pisces, it's the planet of vision, the divine vision, divine plan. It's a time to take a vision quest to find out, am I on the path that I really want to be in? Well, this has been going on for several years. But the key thing is that Neptune can be seeing things through a rose-colored glasses. Is it the illusion, or is it Maya, or is it the reality? Can you bring in this new vision into being? That's where you have to look to Uranus and other planets. Feelings and emotions run deep, creating waves in the soul. This is why things have been so emotional these last 4 or 5 years, and it's going to go on for several more. You need to keep positive and to avoid depression. Pluto and Capricorn, the depths of consciousness are entrenched in organizations. Capricorn, Pluto is large groups, transformations. Capricorn is structure, and it's it's we'll say action to manifest. We'll say enterprises and activities. So groupthink can be amplified in this structure of changing form. It's transforming the organization, or organizing, or transforming you. So Pluto has been about transforming the way you approach the structures of your life. And so we've been going through a lot of that, the way we invest, the way we want to transform things. We want to be very transformative, but yet the earth sign of Capricorn makes it so that, well, we better structure this so it doesn't get us in too much trouble. Okay, now I go to where I'm going to look at each of the signs, and using these outer planet energies, and using the method that I had expressed, where I use the solar sign positionings on the annual wheel of the house. I move each sign onto the first house and shift the planets accordingly, using the natural progression of the signs, or the natural horoscope, but shifting it to a solar type of chart. So Aries would be on the first house. So each of the planets, as I showed in my example, like Uranus would be in the second house. So the divine will, the higher mind, the actions for Aries will be focusing on, again, the natural position of Aries in the second house. And then Neptune is in the 12th house. So 12th house activities will be focused on and be at have predominance during the year. So for each sign, there's going to be this year basically 4 areas, and that's because Jupiter and Saturn are in the same sign. There's 5 outer planets I look at, but in this case, Jupiter and Saturn are mostly in the same house, and because they're both in Aquarius. So these will show the areas, as that's why I went through all the houses that are going to take predominance this year for each sign. So in Aries, we have Uranus in the second house. So during this period, these souls will be looking to improve or change their monetary and financial situation, because Taurus is finances, second house is finances, but they could have up and downs in their finances. Uranus can bring unexpected changes. But fortunately, Uranus is in Taurus energy, so it puts the brakes on this. So losses will be more minimized, and gains will be more, we'll say less. They'll be more risk averse, but so they'll most likely, if you think things out, there'll be advances for Aries. Budget and finance planning is needed. Now with Neptune in the 12th house is the house of secrets, institutions, psychics, and opponents. So in this period with Neptune there, Aries is on a spiritual quest, because Neptune is in its natural sign, in its natural house. This is the house of visions and dreams. So its psychic abilities may also develop during this time, or be discovered. They need to separate dreams from illusions, because that's the key with using the power of Neptune, is that as you do your vision quest or come up with a new path, is it the best or optimal path? So you want to be on guard for false fears and obsessions. With Jupiter and Saturn are in the 11th house in Aquarius, so this focuses and puts the energies of Jupiter and Saturn into the house of associates, friends, and organizations. New people and organizations come into life, but also old associates, friends, or groups may be separated or removed. Awareness and planning is important. So you have this dance between Jupiter and Saturn. Jupiter wanting to expand, Saturn wanting to contract, and we'll say structure and take extra steps in thinking out. So, and everywhere for all the signs where Jupiter and Saturn is, there's going to be this interplay of these two different polarities of energy. So there's going to be a balancing act happen. So for Aries, it's going to be, okay, I want to expand and find new groups and organizations. But I don't want to lose contact with my old friends or groups, but that may happen, but this is where awareness and planning is important. Pluto's in the Aries solar 10th house. So it's a continued period for gaining recognition from groups or organizations for their work or accomplishments. If you're a young Aries, this is a very good time for you to gain recognition at work. If you're a retired Aries, it's a time for your avocation and putting a lot of energy into transforming how you want to take your avocation to a higher level. So transforming your vocation or avocation may occur over this time frame. And if you're still interested in doing it, you may start your own business. Now we're going to go to Taurus. So now Taurus is now in sets up as its solar house. So Taurus is now on the first house of the natural zodiac of the solar chart. So we're going to have Taurus on the first house, Aries on the second house, Taurus on and Gemini on the third house. Well, third house or something. Okay, you got that. So Uranus, Taurus is on the first house, so that Gemini will be on the second house. So it goes around that way. So when Uranus in the first house, because Taurus is on it's the solar chart. So Uranus is in the first house. So this is really great for Taurus. It's a time for trying to innovate themselves and changing their image and personality, how they approach the world and how they strike out and present themselves. They'll work to change their approach to life. Beginning something new is important, and finding personal freedom. When Uranus is in the energies are in the first house for this solar energy, or if you have Taurus rising, this is a time for them to really strike out. More independence, more freedom, more recognition of who they really are. So this is going to be going on for several years for Taurus. Now Neptune is in the 11th house, and Pisces is on in the 11th house because Aries is the 12th and Pisces is in the 11th. So organizations, friends, in your interests. So with Neptune there, Neptune is a planet of the mystical and we'll say the vision. So unusual and mystical friendships may be formed. Your psychic, if you're interested in developing psychic abilities, you're going to find some group that might help you do that. So finding new and interesting groups may become a quest for you. Be aware of false impressions. Again, Neptune, your vision quest is going to try to find new groups and organizations, but you still have to be sure, are these the right people to foster the vision that I am creating for myself? Now, Saturn and Jupiter are in the 10th house, and they have Aquarius in this natural thing. So it's going to be a mix. So it's the house of honors, occupation, and avocation. So it's a mix of increasing responsibility and recognition, but they will be earned. And that's because Saturn requires that you learn the lessons. What lessons you apply, then Jupiter will expand them and take them to the next level. So there's this interaction of reinforcement and we'll say reset that's going on. So popularity will increase along with learning from experiences, the Saturnian experiences. Pluto's in the 9th house, the planet of transformation in large groups. So it's in the house of the higher mind and studies, the educated mind, long journeys, advanced studies. An interesting time for travel, because the 9th house is travel with groups or with travel agencies bringing transforming experiences. This is a time where it's advantageous for Taurus to travel with groups. And I think that in general, during all this stuff, it's a good time. I like to cruise and that, so that I do usually the cruise ship tours because they're safer. Advanced courses or structured studies will increase knowledge that can be applied. And that's the nice thing about it's an application of knowledge with Pluto in this 9th house. And Pluto's in Capricorn. That's why Capricorn being an earth sign, it's active application of knowledge. Now, Gemini's year ahead. Now we put Gemini on the first house of the solar chart. So the planets now, Uranus is in the 12th, Neptune's in the 10th, Jupiter, Saturn, and 9th. See, they're shifting. They're moving around, shifting over to the next house. And Pluto and Capricorn's in the 8th here. So we start with Uranus in the 12th house. And so because Uranus is in Taurus. So secrets, institutions, psychics, and opponent, inner thoughts and feelings are in a state of flux because Uranus shakes things up. So what's going on your inner thoughts and your inner sides are being stirred up by Uranus. Now, if they were in Aries in your 12th house, then it would really stir things up, but your Taurus energies kind of keep it maybe manageable, but still there's going to be unexpected things happening. True intentions or thoughts can be misunderstood because Uranus wants to get things out there. You get that lightning bolt. but new psychic abilities may manifest. And the nice thing about Taurus, if you have an inspirational vision or an inspirational, we'll say, occurrence happen, you will find a way to bring it onto the earth plane. A shakeup in past experiences, so new psychic abilities may manifest, and you'll find a method of manifesting them. A shakeup in past experiences are stirring in the inner soul. Grounded thoughts direct all these activities and energy. So the grounded Uranian energies in Taurus can bring these through, it can activate the energies. Neptune is in the 10th house, honors, recognition, occupation, and avocation. So Neptune, again, the planet of the mystical planet, the vision. So this period can bring visions of a new career or an inspirational avocation. So be careful that the illusion could, be careful that illusions can bring fluctuations in your quest for recognition or new jobs. So you're going to have a lot of vision, especially if you're a younger person. Your career is going to be like, I'd like to change jobs. My real vision, I'd rather really be doing this. And Neptune's going to kick into action, say, why not try it? But it may not be the time to do that, or it may be too much of a unstable situation if you jump. So this is where Neptune, especially in Pisces, giving you all these new visions, you have to be sure that you use the Saturn Jupiter energy to try to ground it. So Neptune here may facilitate inspiration for creative endeavors where mysteries or secrets are involved. Now, Jupiter and Saturn and Aquarius are in the 9th house of the Gemini solar chart. And of course, that's the higher mind, the educated mind, learning, university. So you might want to pursue higher learning or studies that can bring benefits to the mind. Might be a good time to take a course, some course you've been putting off, and take it now. Now, when Jupiter leaves in a year, that may delay taking this course or doing that activity. Right now, you have Jupiter there giving you the outlets and the abilities to choose those options. Now, it's a time of serious thought and deep reflections with Saturn, which leads to deeper understanding of philosophical matters, because Jupiter rules the 9th house, and that's the house of philosophy. Well-planned travel will expand and broaden your consciousness. The Pluto's in the 8th house. That's joint finances, sex, occult, transitions, and transformations. Be careful taking on greater financial obligations. A time to address wills or matters of estate, because the 8th house deals with those energies. Investments in large companies or institutions may be considered. Credit comes more easily because when Pluto's there and it's in your house, 8th house deals with credits and joint finances and stuff. Pluto may transform it so that it comes easier. So you're going to have more easily investment opportunities, but you're going to need to also take the make sure that these are good investment opportunities. Now, Cancer. Now, moving to Cancer, the planet shift. Now, Uranus is in the 11th house. So this is friends and groups. So new friends and associates will unexpectedly come in your life. So new and eclectic organizations may also be explored. So Uranus is going to, in a matter, you may have been like, I'm going to look through some magazine, and in that magazine you see an article, because this is Taurus, it's a structure. You'll see some new organization that you may say, hey, this looks interesting, I'm going to just do it. So unexpectedly you'll see something in a format you may have been thinking about it, and it'll happen. So there's a great opportunity for Cancers to have meet new people through eclectic organizations and mystical organizations. We'll say organizations that are going to trigger your higher mind responses. Neptune's in the 9th house of long distance travels and higher studies and improving yourself and your mind. So this could be a period of inspiration and visions from the higher realms. Desire to visit foreign lands, because 9th house deals with the foreign travel and foreign lands. Also could deal with you taking, we'll say, psychic journeys through your mind, or reading about these foreign lands and envisioning and planning in the future that you will be going to them. Also, it's good with Neptune and Pisces. Pisces being a water sign, might be a good time to take sea voyages. Hopefully they open up the cruise lines, but I'm hearing they may not actually open up for a while to the end of the year. So you need to be aware of the perceptions that may not be totally on the mark too, because Neptune can be both illusions and visions. The Jupiter and Saturn are in Cancer's solar eighth house. So it's a mixed bag of restrictions and expansions and joint finances with partners. So you have the Jupiter wanting to expand and Saturn wanting to contract. So sexual liaisons and unresolved actions with others that need to be resolved this year. So Jupiter wants to go on, but Saturn's saying we need to resolve them. So psychic development will need disciplined study. The Saturn requires a disciplined four-man study. Jupiter in the eighth house wants to join some new, go on and develop and study some new mystical group, be it Hermetics or Rosicrucians, something like that, and practice for achieving expanded growth. So here again, the dance of Jupiter and Saturn and the intermingling or the polarity of these two energies is very much activated for Cancer in the eighth house. Now, Pluto in Capricorn is in your seventh house of relationships and marriage, transformations and relationships and partners, because it's transformation. So the way you approach them are going to maybe be changed and transformed, especially with the Capricorn. You're going to want to put those things into place. Redefining the structure and meaning of relationships for this period, greater awareness in business ventures or potential partnerships, receiving help from large groups and organizations. Leo's year ahead. And again, Uranus is now in the Leo's 10th house. And of course, Leo, this is they like to be in charge of things, as they like to be, in leadership positions. So this energy can bring sudden changes in their career or professions. Unexpected promotions can happen or change in position or home due to this. The reason why the home, because your Uranus is in the 10th house opposing the fourth. They may be moving for work or for other reasons. Leo needs to use discretion and tact in dealing at work in the public, especially with those in authority or supervision. So basically avoid abrupt actions towards others at the workplace. But it's a good, very unexpected promotion or an unexpected award or recognition could also happen, especially in Taurus, because Taurus is a material manifestation. Neptune's in the eighth house for the solar Leo year. So this is the joint finance house. So prudence is needed in dealing with partner finances and others' money, because Neptune can be both your vision and also can be an illusion. Some investments may be too good to be true. You may receive money from an insurance policy or an inheritance, or misread the intentions of others in regard to these matters. Make sure your records are in order. Here again, the eighth house deals with your joint finances. It's the extension of the seventh house. So if you're in a business, we'll say the extension of that seventh house, the records, contracts, and stuff is the eighth house. With Neptune there, you really want to be sure that the records are in order. But you could also have psychic or occult events may enter your life. Jupiter and Saturn are in the Leo solar seventh house. So this energy, this balancing act is there. So relationships and possible marriage are in your life because Jupiter expands. Saturn is looking for long-term, steady relationships. Partners maybe have prosperity, but events could separate or delay bringing fruitful results. That's the Saturn, even though Jupiter is going to bring all these opportunities. Saturn will say, well, this may not be the right time, or this may be the right time if it's Saturn, the timekeeper designates it. Relationships will be energized and mental enthusiasm, but a prudent approach is needed for a lasting relationship. So if you engage in a relationship with this for Leo, then it survives the year, it's a good chance it will continue on. Now, the same approach applies to business partners and legal affairs, a balanced approach. Pluto is in the sixth house of the service environment, the work environment where you work, spirituality, and health. So transforming and restructuring one's job and work environment will be at the forefront. Pushing your coworkers and employees too hard should be curbed, especially if you're in a management position. Sixth house shows those people that are working for you or under your actual management domain. Interest in practical application of spiritual subjects towards health and work will be beneficial because the sixth house deals with also your spiritual health and also your general approach to health. It's a good time to see the doctor and get things checked up. Okay. Now we're into Virgo, and Virgo on the solar is a solar chart for the Virgo. So Uranus is in their ninth house. So that was the education, my higher mind, studies, long journeys, uh, a period to explore the mind and the higher mind and studies because Uranus is there. So you're going to have unexpected, um, I will say, education opportunities, unexpected travel. So a journey of travel that has been planned or delayed may happen, especially in Taurus. You've been planning it a long time. It may here again unexpectedly happen, or you may reopen and make that phone call, and then surprisingly they say, "Yeah, why don't you go on that trip now?" Be careful in foreign lands because it's foreign house. Uranus is that's usually the typical thing because it can bring unexpected events on a journey. But Taurus does again, as I said, ground it. Time to write and publish. Uranus in the ninth house is always a good time to explore these ventures, and Taurus energy will help focus the mind on new subjects. Neptune's in the seventh house of Virgo's chart. Be careful in business and dealings with partners. Follow your visions for business, but try not to follow the shiny proposal or overly persuasive partner. Yeah, you may have a partner that's very persuasive and say, "Hey, let's take a whole new direction," and they may tweak your vision and it may not be the best path. But trust but verify. This includes personal relationships. Jupiter and Saturn are in Virgo's sixth house, and that's the time where you look at your health, and it's a good time to expand your work environments or redo your house, but it might be also a good time to be sure that it's on a strong foundation. So, good health is achieved through avoiding excesses, analyzing your present state, and getting plenty of rest. Improving Saturn requires rest. Jupiter wants to do too much. Improving work condition comes through developing organized and systematic plans. Balance your diet and avoid excesses in food. Pluto's in the fifth house of children, speculations, enterprises, romantic liaisons. So large groups, Pluto being in large groups and organizations, can assist your creative projects and speculations. Romantic affairs may transform your lives because Pluto has that transforming because it's on a large scale, a macro scale, or might even produce children if you're a younger person interested in astrology. So deep passions may arise. Pluto can create deep passions, especially in the fifth. Libra's year ahead. Uranus is in the eighth house of joint finances and uh, transitions and transformations. So interest in the matters of the cult may happen unexpectedly. The cult meaning hidden mystical subjects, metaphysics, changes in joint finances that need to be addressed or reorganized. With the Taurus energy, you may need to redo some documentations or wills, sudden inheritances or income or financial opportunities. Some inheritance may unexpectedly happen. And Taurus, again, it could be, an estate type of activity. Neptune is in the sixth house for Libra. Your vision may lead you to a different work or environment. Be aware of possible deception by coworkers. Again, the sixth house being coworkers. You need to take care of your health because sometimes an unexpected health condition can occur with Neptune in the sixth. So it's a time to take care and be tuned into your health so you can follow your vision. Also, you may redo your work. If you work at home and have an office, you may have a new vision of what kind of office space you would like to be in. Jupiter and Saturn are in the fifth. Good fortune and speculations are researched and vetted. So again, that's a Saturn. You're going to have good fortune if you do your research and that you really follow through on investigation. So romantic encounters that are founded on the right principles will last. Otherwise, they will be short-lived. Pluto in the fourth house, changes in the home that transform your life. Parents may be involved. Looking within yourself to give more meaning to the way you live. Real estate investment by water. And so this is Pluto again. Pluto is in Capricorn, but still, in this case, it may Pluto be in sort of a water planet with association to Scorpio. It's buying real estate. The Capricorn near the water, maybe. Scorpio's year ahead. So Uranus in the Scorpio solar chart is in the 7th house in Taurus. Taurus is the opposite sign of Scorpio. So this is relations and business partners and marriage. So there could be unexpected marriages or separations in relationships. Uranus can bring an unexpected marriage or a separation. New contracts may appear for your consideration. Might be a new business partner or a venture, and a contract will come in. And again, Taurus is dealing with business too. So you need to be cautious of potential lawsuits that could result from maybe signing this unexpected contract. So again, you need to use the caution of planet of Saturn in planning and diplomacy in dealing with others, because so Uranus is yeah, I'm sorry, it was Uranus there will bring this in, but the Taurian energy needs you to be cautious of any future lawsuits, which could spring, be a spring back from Uranus opportunity. Neptune is in the 5th house of speculations, enterprises, and children. So artistic and creative abilities that may have been dormant can be developed. You may have a vision that you always wanted to draw or paint. This may be a very good time to engage in that creative activity. It also may find a very interesting romantic partner. So it's a time for inspiration, but take care in speculation, both business and personal romantic. Illusions can deceive your better intentions. So that's Neptune in the 5th. Jupiter and Saturn are in your 4th house of the home and parents. So there might bring some responsibilities with parents, maybe a desire to purchase something new, or to redo your present home. So desire to purchase new home needs to be tempered with caution because of Saturn and thorough research. Improvements to the home will have a long-term effect. So if you're making renovations and changes to your home, plan for them to be a long-term investment, especially with Aquarius. And of course, the Aquarian energy, fixed air, you need to really think them through thoroughly and be sure they're well vetted. Meditation reflections help domestic tranquility. So take your times out, and then when you take time to reflect through Saturn, the opportunities of Jupiter will be realized. Pluto's in the 3rd house for Scorpio of communication, siblings, writings, and general studies. So it's a good position for study and research, because 3rd house is short journeys, also functional learning and studies, whereas the 9th house is higher studies and higher learnings. This might be a good time just to review things, look at subjects that you had taken, but you want to have a better understanding. But communication, especially with large groups, might be very advantageous. If you're teaching courses for Scorpio, this may be a good time to engage in making that change or transformation to maybe do those activities. Mystical subjects are of interest. Short trips will contribute. This should have been will. Short trips will contribute to your studies and research. Sagittarius' year ahead. These the very free-spirited sign of adventurous sign of Sagittarius. So they have Pluto in their 2nd house. They have to take a little time to address their money and their long-term portfolios and stuff. So desire to increase and transform financial conditions. Try not to let this urge for speculations engage you in a risky transaction. Material items of note may be acquired. Jupiter and Saturn in the 3rd house in Aquarius. So it's communications and writings. Mental enthusiasm is balanced with serious thought. This is a time to write and present well-researched talks or writings. Short trips that have a purpose can be beneficial. Ups and downs with siblings. Use optimism with discretion and communications. Neptune is in the 4th house of the home. So visions of a different place of residence. Be careful in land speculations, because the Neptunian illusion. So need to separate what is true and of value, and be sure that you're on firm ground and not being following that illusion. Deep meditation and reflection will help sort out the myriad of feelings. Uranus is in the 6th house. A sudden change in job or work environment may occur. Saturn's, stay aware of health, or it could change. Your mind is working overtime, so more rest may be required with Uranus in the 6th. Capricorn's year ahead, the cardinal Earth sign. So Pluto's in there first. So this is a position for Pluto to lead to upheavals and desire to transform yourself. Your outlook and attitudes are affected, a time for redefining who you are. So it's a good time to really, if you want to transform yourself, the way you appear or how you approach life, this is a good time because Capricorn will help you realize it. Jupiter and Saturn are in the second house, opportunities for increasing money in bank accounts. Perform these actions with patience and care to avoid losses. Hard work will bring financial rewards. Jupiter and Saturn are, of course, in the second. Neptune is in the third house of Capricorn, which is, of course, writings and communications and short journeys. And more spiritual approach to one. Neptune is in Pisces, so that's the spirituality of that sign, to one's community, especially with siblings. Good time to put vision to paper. Be careful in signing documents, seek advice. Thoughts and ideas are more inspirational. So if you were planning to write an inspirational book, or you had a vision of doing something of a third house nature, this might be a good time, especially with Pluto in the first, to bring that into realization. Uranus is in the fifth house of, again, creativity, children's speculations, and enterprises. So Sun in unconventional romantic liaisons and encounters that will push the envelope, but not beyond limits, because Uranus is in Taurus. Children could cause some concerns. Uranus, it could be unexpected things. It could be some concerns, but they may come with you with unexpected, like some achievement that, or some creative thing that they did. So more romance will be in the picture unexpectedly, but speculations will be pursued because Uranus and Taurus, that inspirational moment can be manifested. Aquarius' solar year ahead. So Jupiter and Saturn are in Aquarius, so they're in Aquarius's first house. When Jupiter's in the first house, it's like a beginning of a new cycle. So this is a new personal cycle of increased optimism and health, begins with Jupiter in this house. Saturn will require more patience and discipline to achieve the desired result. If Jupiter was there by itself, then it would be a much more expansive period for them. But Saturn there is going to require that discipline and understanding the opportunities that come into your new cycle can be fully understood before they are realized. So stay balanced in your desired results, and they will then be achieved. Neptune is in your second house, new visions for financial holdings and ways to make money because it's Pisces. So you're going to have visions of that, but you avoid getting entangled in potential money schemes that could be nebulous and corrupt. Some things are too good to be true. So you may have new ways of coming up of making money, but you could also be presented with these visions, maybe down roads that are leading you to not achieving that full vision that you had hoped. But if you follow a vision that's based on, we'll say, good foundation, then you can realize that vision. Uranus is in your fourth house of home. And again, Uranus can be like a lightning bolt. It can bring unexpected changes, both for the good and sometimes unexpectedly that this can disrupt your life. So there will be more likely to be changes to the domestic environment. Moves of residence could happen. Parents may be involved in these changes. So new mystical practices in the home. You might set up a new office or set up a meditation altar or something, or start doing Reiki in the home or something like that. Pluto's in your 12th house in Aquarius. So Pluto in this house can be beneficial in transforming the inner turmoil, because the 12th house is your inner past memories in a positive way. So Pluto and Capricorn say, let's transform them. Let's transform them into a structure that can benefit me, because that's the Capricorn energy. So secrets of opponents that were perpetuated against you could be revealed. So secret opponents with Pluto and Capricorn will maybe reveal them. Reevaluation of inner values, tapping into the mass consciousness, because Pluto is large groups. So it might give you an idea to tap into the mass consciousness and come up with ideas that have been floating around in the ethers, and you're able to bring them in and use them to transform your life. I think we're down to almost our last sign here, Pisces year ahead, the two fishes, the mutable water sign. Now, Neptune being in Pisces will be in the first house of the solar chart for Pisces. So it has its natural ruler and it's in its natural sign in the first house. So it's a time to follow your vision and dreams, but not your illusions. You have the ability to initiate them. Things seem more glamorous now, but protect your reputation. You're going to be really out there because your vision is going to be carrying you on this magic carpet ride. Your divine plan presents opportunities, but use your intuitions to avoid falling overboard. The ship's going to take you on an amazing journey, but you have to be careful to hold on to the railing at times. Uranus is in the third house, now again, of writings and studies and learning and short journeys. So, inspiration from the higher mind can be communicated in writings and speech. Unusual studies will be undertaken, enhancing your learning. Use extra caution when driving or taking short trips. It's usually a cautionary thing with Uranus because Uranus and Mars can bring unexpected things in the third house. So, just when you're taking your short trips and stuff and journeys, just be sure that with Uranus and Taurus, then if you think it out and plan it, you should be okay. And of course, they will unexpectedly undertake him. But it's a good time to really take that again, start writing and taking your unusual studies and learnings and maybe and bringing them into a form because your Earth signs can bring things into form. They can help manifestation of those inspirational ideas. Pluto's in the 11th house. Large groups and organizations will transform your life and new friends and associates. Opportunities and acquired power may be gained from these interactions. Associating with relatives may also become more important during this time because the 11th house is friends and groups and organizations, but also can mean relatives that come back into your life too. Jupiter and Saturn are in your 12th house of the secrets and institutions and psychic activities. So protection from secret enemies and their actions. Jupiter gives you protection and Saturn allows you to take definitive steps to protect yourself. Losses will be minimized. Avoid drugs or too much alcohol because Jupiter will expand it and it could affect your long-term plans of Saturn. A time to research or investigate mystical or psychic subjects. Meditate, be discreet, and avoid circumstances that could lead to gossip because Jupiter, you could expand so fast and your mind's going to be moving in a way with all these psychic impressions that you may throw them out there and it could, lead to unexpected things occurring. So those are the 12 signs. So I think here we're going to stop and we're going to stop recording.